work environment with an increase in employee productivity? Look no further than Go225 Janitorial Services. We can provide a free quote for your commercial cleaning needs. Don't leave your commercial cleaning to just anyone. Your company's image is important to us. We're locally owned and operated and provide a quality, reliable cleaning service every time. Visit Go225 Janitorial Services online at go225janserve.com or contact us at 225-360-5233.
Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition. Now, here's your host, Reggie Flood.
Good morning. It's the Jaguar Journal. I'm Reggie Flood, and my man P. White will be joining us in a little while. We're rocking and rolling this morning, making it happen. Big weekend in Jaguar land as it's the Bayou Classic on the hardwood. The Jaguars take on the Grambling State Tigers in a doubleheader. The ladies tip off first at 12 o'clock. The men's game will follow. Both will be broadcast live on national TV through HBCU Go and the Griot. So it's going to be a big weekend, alumni weekend on the yard at Southern, inviting all alumni back to participate and have some fun. You know, everything kicks off at 10 o'clock with the block party. Women's game tips off at 12, and then the men's game is scheduled for 3 o'clock or soon after. It's at 3 o'clock start more than likely because it's television. So it's going to be a big weekend. I encourage everybody to get out and have some fun and enjoy themselves as it's alumni weekend as Southern takes on Grambling in basketball. The men come in 4-0 and on top of the SWAC. The ladies come in, if I'm not mistaken, they're 3-1. And they're in second place, tied for second place behind Jackson State. So both teams are winning in conference. Both teams are playing pretty well. So come on out and check it out. The Jaguar Journal will be giving you all of the information that you need and some information you may not need, but they'll give it to you anyway. Be a lot of fun. My man Perry White's going to join us in a little while, and we'll talk about it. They're out at the Battle of the Bands in Atlanta. Human Jukebox is playing out there, so you know that's always a lot of fun. That's always a lot of fun for the Atlanta alums who are listening in, who might want to hear the jukebox. I'm sure you guys already know that the jukebox is in town, so that is going to be part of the show too. We'll be talking about that. My man Perry White is out there covering that, giving us the exclusive on that. This week it's been about recruiting. Several players have committed to Southern in football. The recruiting portal is still open. The coaches are still on the road. Last weekend they had recruits in, and they had a few guys commit. This weekend I think they're going to have even more recruits in. So it's going to be a big weekend to see if they can get some guys to sign on the dotted line. They got a few junior college players to commit, some transfers. They're still looking to get even more. So the recruiting trail is hot, and it is what it is. We're going to follow up on that, see who wants to be a Jaguar, see who is going to be a Jaguar. So it's a few things going on out there. And, of course, you want to know what's going on with you guys. What's the thought? What are you guys' thoughts on this? The Jags take on Grambling. Grambling has had one of the better preseason out-of-conference schedules, and they did very well. Their Grambling's men's basketball team. So they, if I'm not mistaken, they have a 5-game win streak over Southern, with Southern men. On the women's side, they've gone back and forth. It's always a tough game for Grambling and between Grambling and Southern. So that is going to be it's going to be a knockdown drag out on the women's side. I know that on both sides, because Grambling is not going to lay down. They're going to come to play. They're super confident. So we're going to have to watch out for that game and see what happens. We'll break it down, and with my man Perry Georges, we'll break down the SWAC schedule, because the Jags took on Bethune-Cookman Monday night in a doubleheader. That was also on television. Jags won both of those games. The ladies won 65-61, and the men won 84. I think it's 84-69. I think that was the score. So the men won going away. They got hot in the second half, or at the end of the first half, and just continued into the second half and kind of coasted to a victory over Bethune-Cookman. So the Jags are on a roll, and they've been impressive in the last few days. They go on the road, get 2 victories in Texas. They do the Texas two-step, where they beat Texas Southern and Prairie View, come home and win 2. And now they have Grambling here to try to get a 5-game winning streak. So it's exciting times around Jaguar land, no doubt about that. Going to be a big time. I'm looking forward to the alumni weekend. I'm looking forward to the alumni coming in. I hope that they come in and pack the mini dome. I hope there are a lot of alums coming from different places, because there are a lot of things going on. Not only is there the block party, but you can register or re-register with the alumni. They're going to have, I think the quarterback club has something going on. I know it's a big celebration, so I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you want to participate, the festivities kick off at 10 o'clock. Want to say a shout out to the Southern University Law School, who's always looking out for us. They are looking out. They have a lot of things going on. You should check out the SULC website to find out what's going on. They have a lot of community events going on where everybody's included. They have some competitions going on that you can check out. So check out the Southern University Law School when you get a chance. They're always helpful to us whenever we need them. So I appreciate the Southern University Law School and all of our people around us. So it is, when I looking at it this week, looking at basketball season and how basketball season is unfolding. Coach Woods and his team, if you look at his team, they're kind of the sleepers in the conference. I think they were picked to finish third in the conference. Right now they're in first place, but the way that they're playing, if you look at the way that they're playing, and this has always been a thing for me and how they look, they are playing a good brand of basketball if you have watched them. If you haven't had a chance to, it's not only an entertaining brand of basketball, it's a good brand of basketball. They do the small things well. They play defense, they play hard-nosed defense, they knock down open jump shots, they get to the basket. They're even shooting free throws pretty well, which is is always a pet peeve if you're a basketball fan. You want to see them do the simple things well, and I think they're doing the simple things well. So, if you get a chance today, check them out. If not, you can check them out on TV. It's going to be a nationally televised game. So, do that. Check them out. P. White, what's going on, man?
What's up, Flood? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Man, what's the word?
Oh, man, just talking about some of this basketball that's going on today. Big alumni weekend. Southern takes on Grambling in a doubleheader.
I look at that game, and that game typically draws a nice crowd to the mini dome. For you, when you look back, has this game always been big when you look home and home between Southern and Grambling, as you call it, the Bayou Classic on the hardwood?
Oh, it's always, anything between Southern and Grambling has always been a big game. It could be tiddlywinks, it's going to draw a crowd, so it's always been a big game,
Yeah, I like this game, man. Go ahead. What you say?
No, I was just saying, you get Southern and Grambling. It's from the beginning of whatever the rivalry, it's always been something big. It's always going to be something big. It's always going to be the cousins arguing, it's always going to be that. So, it's going to be a crowd just because of that.
Yeah, I like this matchup when you talk about between Southern and Grambling, man. And, I've always looked at it as an opportunity for Southern to be able to, I guess, with the alumni night. And it's something about that alumni night, because I remember a couple of years ago, I want to believe during alumni night, they dedicated the court. They named the court after Avery Johnson, I want to say, was doing the alumni night. But are there a lot of Grambling fans in the Baton Rouge area? Does it seem to be more Alcorn fans? Because I know when we normally play this game, Grambling doesn't normally seem to show up beat to this.
It's probably not as many Grambling fans in the area as it used to be. Because, you got to think there was a time when most of the most well-known names from Grambling, a lot of the most well-known names from Grambling are from the Baton Rouge area. Coach Robinson, Doug Williams, people like that, they're all from the Baton Rouge area. So you had a lot more Grambling people in Baton Rouge at the time. You probably have more Grambling nights than you have Alcorn alums, but Alcorn alums are a lot more vocal, and they're a lot more concentrated. But it's probably thinned out a little bit in terms of Grambling and their people, because it's not, a lot of Grambling people left Grambling, they moved to Dallas instead of coming to Baton Rouge, so, you don't have as many in Baton Rouge as you used to. You look forward to this game. It'll be broadcast today on HBCU Go between Southern and Grambling. And that should be a great opportunity when you talk about marketing and promote the program for Southern. And so, for anybody that's out there, if you're not able to make it to the game, you will be able to check it out on HBCU Go. I watched HBCU Go last week when Southern and Bethune-Cookman played, man. Pretty good broadcast with the crew that comes in, man. And it'll be interesting to see how they handle it today and the opportunities that they'll be able to have to be able to put that brand in households all across the nation with HBCU Go. Have you been able to check out HBCU Go on the basketball side? Yes, I have. Great broadcast. Of course, the legendary Charlie Neal leads that broadcast, and it's the quality of production is really good, and they're going to be on the call today. Charlie Neal and I forget it's I can't think of. I was trying to think of who he had as his broadcast partner, because I actually had interviewed Charlie earlier this week. I was trying to get him on the Journal this morning, but he was busy, couldn't come on. But he'll be on the call, and Charlie's gonna always be. He's the legend of HBCU sports, and they're gonna put on a great production. They have done a great job so far. They did a great job with football, and they're doing a great job with the look of basketball.
I kind of laugh because when I listen to your voice and I listen to Charlie Neal's voice, I got to say, Flood, you got a pretty cool voice on you, man. I could put you on there. If you was not to see your face like on here on the radio, but just hear your voice, man, you got one of them legendary voices like Charlie.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, P. White. And, I tell you what, I've been lucky enough that I actually look like I sound. So that's, a lot of times, from experience, people don't look like they sound. But, yeah, so I appreciate that, though.
Are you talking about on the movie Friday when he thought she was sounded like Janet Jackson, but she was looking more like Freddie Jackson?
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Doing your working in broadcasting radio, how many people have you met where you hear their voice, but then when you actually see them, it don't go together?
Oh, well, all the time. All the time. Most of the time. 90% of the time. The people don't look like they sound. Don't look like they sound. You know, that's just I think it's just a voice thing, a radio thing in particular, that the people that you see on the radio hardly ever, or the people that you hear on the radio hardly ever look like they sound.
That's hilarious.
I think that's what it is. You know, because when I first started in radio, people would tell me all the time, "Wow, you actually look like you sound." You know, that's one of those things, man. It just is, but hardly ever do I run across people. Well, I'm used to it now, but when I first started out, it's very rare that you run across people who actually look like they sound.
Yeah, it is, man, and that's the funny thing about it when you put it all together, man. All right, Flood, take us to break.
Oh, man, it's time for us to take a break. Make sure you stay tuned. More of the Jaguar Journal is coming soon.
Are you looking for a safe, healthier work environment with an increase in employee productivity? Look no further than Go 225 Janitorial Services. We can provide a free quote for your commercial cleaning needs. Don't leave your commercial cleaning to just anyone. Your company's image is important to us. We're locally owned and operated and provide a quality, reliable cleaning service every time. Visit Go 225 Janitorial Services online at go225janserve.com or contact us at 225-360-5233.
And we're back. So fresh and so clean.
All right, there we go. Flood, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
So fresh and so clean. That brings back some memories right there.
I like that. That's that ATL.
Yeah, it's the Outcast. Outcast, maybe. Outcast, you know, the third greatest duo in the history of hip-hop.
Will you give them that?
Yeah, they're the third greatest, man. Some people say the greatest. I say the third greatest because you can't have a greater duo in hip-hop than Run DMC. And then I put Houdini next. I mean, you know, you got Outkast is right there with him. I mean, Outkast is Outkast. I mean, you know, but you gotta honor the greats, the legends, the giants. You know, and Outkast is they're one of the giants too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I love Outkast, man, and I guess we can jump right into this women's basketball coming from last week, Flood, and we'll start with Southern University women's basketball getting back on track after taking that loss to Prairie View the week before, but Southern University women getting the victory 55-49. And I'll kind of go over the rest of the scores throughout the conference, and we'll come back to that. UAPB women getting the victory over Texas Southern. Texas Southern women, man, are struggling this year. UAPB won 89-71. Then you look at Alabama A&M over Alcorn, 63-56. And then you move down to Bethune-Cookman, taking on Grambling. Bethune-Cookman women getting a victory over Grambling, 63-46. Prairie View kept it rolling, beating Mississippi Valley 92-67. And then Jackson State with the huge victory over Alabama State. This game was never close, 90-48, man. That is a huge victory for Jackson State when you look at what they were able to do in that game, Flood. And, you know, does it look like Jackson State still are the dominant women's basketball team in this conference?
Yes, and I actually got a chance to watch a lot of that game, a condensed version. They are still athletic. They're still dominant. They play good basketball, man, and they're still big. They still are as big as they were, and they're going to be hard to beat, man. I watched them against Alabama State. That's the game that I happened to see, and I tell you, they were dominant in that game.
And what about with Southern? When you saw Southern versus FAMU, what did you think about Southern in that game?
I just think that Southern is a good team, man. They don't do anything bad, but they don't do anything well. Like, you know, they don't do anything exceptional, but they don't do anything really bad other than shoot free throws. They're a terrible free throw shooting team. A terrible shooting. I take that back. They do something bad. They don't shoot the ball well. Period. Free throws or knocking down open jump shots. That's the one knock against them, which is a big knock. But they don't do anything other than that bad, but they don't do anything exceptional. I'm going to retract that statement, period. I should have thought about it a little bit further. They play defense well. They play defense well, exceptionally, and they don't shoot the ball well at all. So those are the two things. Everything else is kind of balances each other out. But I think that hurts them against those two things. Hurt them, help and hurt them. It keeps them in games that they're able to play defense, but the fact that they can't shoot the ball means they can't get over the hump against a lot of teams. And against teams like Grambling and Jackson State, you're going to have to be able to shoot the ball.
Let's look at Monday night as some games continue to go on. Grambling versus FAMU. This game went into overtime on the women's side. Grambling getting the victory 71-68. Then you look at Prairie View over Pine Bluff. Prairie View was able to get a 2-point victory over Pine Bluff, 62-60. Jackson State continued to roll 63-35 over Alabama A&M. Alabama State continued to roll, got back on track against Alcorn State, 93-91. And Texas Southern beat Mississippi Valley State 77-61. And, of course, the big game that was on HBCU Go was Southern's women versus Bethune-Cookman. Southern getting the victory 65-63. Hey, they were able to get back on track, go 2-0 against the Florida schools, Flood.
Yes, they got back on track. Glad to see that, man. It was interesting on the women's side where we had seen FAMU pretty much destroy Bethune-Cookman, and Southern was in control of that game until the very end, and they finally put them away, but they had like a 10-point lead with a minute and something left in the game and let Bethune-Cookman cut the lead. Matter of fact, Bethune-Cookman took the lead at one point, and Southern was able to squeeze it out. On the men's side, it was after about 2 minutes left in the second half, it really wasn't a ball game. Southern got out to about a 10-point lead, and they never looked back in the game. And they kind of coasted in the second half. They played really well and didn't give Bethune an opportunity to get back in the game.
Yeah, you look at some of the matchups around today. Alcorn State versus Texas Southern. That game we played in Houston. Texas Southern women 1-14. You look at Jackson State and Prairie View. That game will take place today at 4 o'clock. Prairie View and Jackson State. That should be a good ball game right there when you look at where Prairie View is right now and then the way that Jackson State is rolling. Mississippi Valley and Bethune-Cookman. Valley goes on the road to take on Bethune-Cookman women's basketball today at 2 o'clock. Pine Bluff and FAMU today. Pine Bluff travels over to FAMU to take them on in women's basketball at 2 o'clock. Then, of course, Southern and Grambling women today at 1:30. And then when you look overall at the
12 o'clock.
Right?
12 o'clock.
12. Who is that?
Southern and Grambling women.
Okay. So White has one. Okay. And, man, you know, overall, right now women's basketball seems to be dominated by Jackson State. And Southern's women seem to be getting it back on track. I think a lot of people did not like that loss to Prairie View when Sandy Pugh and her team were able to get the victory. But if you look at it, if I were to say, for me, with an eye test right now, perhaps the three best teams, I would say there's Jackson State by themselves, and I would say then right behind there I would go Prairie View and Southern right there behind them. What would you say?
I would say Jackson State is a class all by themselves, and then there's everybody else. I
Just like that, huh?
I don't. Everybody else could kind of, they kind of are what they are. I think everybody else is pretty much similar, and anybody could beat anybody on that given night. But I think Jackson State is definitely the class of the conference.
Trying to get some service where I'm at, Flood. That's another thing that's happened to me this morning, man. And you ever been somewhere, this radio talk for you, ever been somewhere and it was like no matter where you went to try to get into a space by yourself, everybody seems to come right into that space?
Yeah, everybody follows you wherever you want to go. I understand.
Flood, when I can't go nowhere, Flood. I mean, everywhere I'm going, man, it's just like, okay, Perry's over here, so let's come over here and talk loud.
That's what happens, man. Everybody wants to be in your circle.
Everybody can't be in my circle, Flood.
Yeah, everybody wants to be in your circle. That's what it is, man. They following you around.
Well, I'm not liking it, man, because I keep trying to find these little duck-offs in these little spots. And, I get a chance now to go back and look at the FAMU game, and you talk about the shooting percentage in this game for Southern. Southern shooting 20 of 51 for 39%, 3 of 15 from the three-point line, shooting 20%, and 12 of 20 from the free throw line, shooting 60% in that ball game. Southern's largest lead was 12 in that one against FAMU, and then against Bethune-Cookman, in which they won 65-63. And I know Chris somewhere listening, he's not going to cringe too much on this one, as they shot 25 of 49 against Bethune-Cookman for 51%, shot 7 of 14 from the three-point line for 50%, and 8 of 14 from the free throw line for over 57%. So when you look at the percentages for every for field goal, three-point, and free throws, Chris, against Bethune-Cookman, they were all 50% and above. So I guess that's not down in those 20 and 30 percentile that I'm normally reading out in terms of those stats. So don't cringe too much when I get that stat out, because I know Chris last week did not like that. You didn't either, Flood.
No, not at all. Not at all.
50% isn't that bad, though.
Shooting 50% from the floor is definitely not bad. It's definitely not bad. 50% from the free throw line is terrible. It's beyond terrible.
Oh, man. Well, let's do this, man. Let's get ready to take a break. We'll come back and talk more about SWAC basketball. All right, so y'all stay tuned more to Jaguar Journal.
Care South Medical and Dental offers comprehensive health care services to everyone from babies to senior citizens. Medical, dental, and behavioral health services, COVID vaccinations, and telehealth services are available too. Our excellent staff provides compassionate care at locations in East Baton Rouge, Iberville, and Ascension parishes. We accept Medicaid, Medicare, and most private insurance. A sliding fee discount for patients that qualify. No one is turned away. Call today, 650-2000, or visit us at caresouth.org. Care South Medical and Dental is a proud sponsor of Southern University.
David's
Are we back?
And we're back.
There we go.
Back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Are you there, P.
Reggie
White?
Flood, I'm Perry White. Yes, sir, I'm here.
All
Trying
right.
to get a little situated up. I'm studying moving around, man. It's like I'm being followed by noise. I can't escape the flood, so I'm just gonna have to roll with it. I keep trying not to. But all right, let's jump on the men's side of things, man. And last week, Southern took on Florida A&M. Southern win, getting the victory, 84-66 in this ball game. Chris, are you ready? 29 of 51 shooting from the field, 56% for Southern, 10 of 21 from the free throw line, shooting 47%, 16 of 20 Flood. This one for you from the free throw line, shooting 80%. How you like that 80% from the free throw line, 16 of 20?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what you have to do if you're gonna win games, man.
And on the other side for Florida A&M, 25 of 54, shooting 46%, 11 of 23, shooting 47%. They shot 5 of 17 from the free throw line, shooting 71%. Southern's largest lead in that ball game at one time was 20 points. And then we move on and we look at Monday night. Southern took on Bethune-Cookman. And in a game in which, hey, they broke the scoreboard on this one, Flood, 102-75. And Southern in this ball game, once again, Chris, where you at? I got some good percentages for you. They have increased 32 of 55, shooting 58% from the field, 15 of 29, shooting 51% from the three-point line, and 23 of 29 from the free throw line, shooting 79%. Even better for you, Flood?
Yeah, I like that. That's good basketball.
They are constantly increasing that. And they on the other side, when you look at Bethune-Cookman, they shot 25 of 57, 43%, 11 of 27 from the three-point line, shooting 40%, 14 of 19 from the free throw line, shooting 73%. Southern getting the victory, 102-75. As you can see, the sound just won't get away from me. But overall, they were able to get the victory. You look at some other games on Saturday before we get to that Monday. Pine Bluff beating Texas Southern 70-66. First time they beat them in some years. Alcorn State beating Alabama A&M 89-76. Jackson State getting the victory over Alabama State 61-58. Grambling big victory over Bethune-Cookman 76-70. And Prairie View getting the victory over Mississippi Valley 67-60. And then we jump over to Monday night's game. Alcorn State beating Alabama State 92-76. Jackson State getting the victory over Alabama A&M 72-64. Mississippi Valley beating Texas Southern 71-66. This Texas Southern team is struggling on the season, and then Grambling getting the victory over Florida A&M 62-57. And then last but not least, it'll be UAPB, the Golden Lions, getting the victory over Prairie View 63-55. Overall, when you look at these teams, man, and you talk about the SWAC standing and where everybody stands right now, and at the top of the list, of course, it is Southern University and Jackson State, both teams 3-0, whatever they 4-0 basically in conference play. Then right behind them, Prairie View, Grambling, Alcorn, then below Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and at the bottom of the barrel, who would have thought Texas Southern basketball Flood has not won a game in conference?
Yeah,
this late into the season to start.
Yeah, that is unusual, but I understand they've also had some injury issues, but that is unusual for a Texas Southern team to not have won a conference game this late in the season.
Oh, man. Yeah, you look at that and it seems like you could get one or the other. For them, football this year seemed to have turned around. They were a game away if they didn't lose to Alabama A&M to make it to the SWAC championship. And it seems like once you seem to have gotten things together on that end, they fall apart on the other end of basketball. They just can't seem to get two things going at one time.
Yeah, it has been tough. Shout out to Texas Southern, by the way. They just broke ground on a new strength and conditioning facility on their campus. So shouts out to them.
Matchups around the SWAC today on the men's side, when you look around Florida A&M and Pine Bluff, they play at 4 o'clock today. Grambling and Southern play each other. Of course, the Bayou Classic on the hardwood Flood. That game will be on HBCU Go. Mississippi Valley State and Bethune-Cookman take on each other today in Alcorn State, Texas Southern. And Jackson State and Prairie View should be an interesting matchup. And then Monday night around the SWAC conference in men's basketball, It'll be the Magic City Classic on the hardwood floor. Alabama State and Alabama A&M. And then Mississippi Valley versus Florida A&M, the battle of the ugly colors. And then UAPB versus Bethune-Cookman. Jackson State versus Texas Southern, and Alcorn State versus Prairie View. Outside of that Southern Grambling game, man, any one of those other games, man, this weekend you're looking forward to, you think should be a pivotal game when you talk about the conference standing?
I think all of those games. I mean, right now, the way the conference is, I think on the men's side in particular, it's going to be kind of jumbled up. But I'm interested to see a few of those games. But on the women's side, it's Jackson State and Prairie View. I want to see how I think the Jackson State Prairie View game will give us an idea of how Southern will match up, because Southern and Prairie View are basically mirror images of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in that game and see how that goes.
So all of these games should turn out to be a good one. Of course, Southern this weekend with Grambling State. That should be a good ball game for Southern. And then they got Monday off. So Southern will not be playing on Monday, but today they got Grambling, the Bayou Classic on the hardwood, and it's MLK Day on Monday. So I'll be interested to see how the different programs handle that when it comes to having basketball games on MLK Day, man. And that should be interesting for us.
Yeah, I mean, HBCUs usually play on that day. It's not an unusual thing. It's usually the featured HBCUs are featured on ESPN. The ESPN use that game that day. I don't know if they will be, but yeah, it's a regular occurrence that they play on Martin Luther King Day. So we'll see what happens this Monday.
All right, we're at the top of the hour. Got to get ready to take a break. Come back. Stay tuned. More to Jaguar Journal.
Did you know that receiving a degree from a technical college is more popular now than...
All right. Back before the Jaguar Journal. Here, White, he's Reggie Flood. And we got a special guest with us this morning, Flood. My man, of course, he's no stranger to the show. My man, Marc Gray. Good morning, Marc.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing? Hey, what's going on, Mark? What's happening, man?
Happy New Year, bro.
Happy New Year to you too, brother.
Marc, you know, as we was going through the show, we just did men and women's basketball on the SWAC side. So I said, you know, we don't get a chance to really get to know the MEAC too well in the basketball side the way that we do on the football side. So I said, what greater person to call than my man, Marc Gray. Marc, talk to us a little bit about the MEAC, man, and how things are shaping up over on that side.
All right, even before I do that, I got to give props to the SWAC for now, you know, stepping up, leveling up their game in terms of how they balled out against the Pac-12. And since the SWAC commissioner happens to be the chair of the NCAA selection committee, I want to really see what kind of juice that has when you start getting into at-large time at the bottom of the bracket for multiple opportunities for teams to get into the tournament this year while he's in the room and able to help influence those decisions. So now that soapbox is closed, I'll tell you this. I knew the MEAC was going to be at least a 4 or 5 team race coming in. It's as wide open as I've seen it in 10 to 15 years, where you don't have a prohibitive favorite. It's clearly the any given night, anybody can beat you type of conference. I expected 2 big step-up moves from Howard and Morgan. They've done just that. You know, Morgan knocks off North Carolina Central, which had been an albatross around their neck, you know, really since Kevin Brodus got there. And then you look at what Kenny Blakeney is doing at Howard. They continue to steadily progress. The benchmark is still Norfolk State, but they've, you know, faced some real tough challenges early in the season. So on any given night, it's anybody's chance to beat somebody. And, I mean, it's just making for great basketball. I think the transfer portal has worked extremely well up and down the conference. It's the personification of how a mid-major program or a mid-major conference can now recruit players, and it's always been attractive. So as we get into the meat of the conference schedule and head into that tournament, boy, it's I mean, you know, you underestimate anybody on your schedule on any given night. You don't show up with your A game as a favorite, you will get clipped. That includes for, you know, teams at the bottom end of the conference like Maryland, Eastern Shore also. So, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches right now as a mid-major conference for the MEAC, and I don't know if I've seen this kind of parity or balance, as I said before, in over 10 years.
Yeah, that's interesting to watch, Mark, how things like the transfer portal has changed the fortunes of some of our programs, MEAC and SWAC, and to see the success they're having out of conference. It's really, like I said, I'm really looking forward to see how this plays out when it comes to NCAA tournament time. I think that when you look at it, of course, you know, people call the SWAC MEAC one bid league, but one thing I'm really looking forward to see the seeding. Are they still going to find a way to seed us or seed our conferences at the 16th spot or the play-in game? It just seems to me this year that if they do that this year, then we really need to reevaluate the relationship and what's going on with the NCAA tournament and their seeding. I've always had an issue with it myself, personally, because of they say that they are going to count the strength of schedule, but then they use strength of schedule against our schools.
And they use your strength of schedule against the RPI. And the teams at the high end who play at the highest level, like especially when Mike Davis was at Texas Southern,
he'd get like a 14 to 16 bid. Well, we all know that he should have been like somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 because of the way that they were scheduling. But he was real diplomatic about it. And I just think that we're in a really interesting space this year because, again, Charles McClellan being chairman of the selection committee. Now, he ain't just on the selection committee. He's the chair. That means he's in all those conversations. He's hearing the Power 5 brokers, the people who want to, get 8, 10 leagues. We know the teams who are lower than 6 are questionable at best. So I'm anxious to see how this play out. This will be this will be an interesting road to the finish line for all of HBCU basketball this year, in my opinion, because you'll never have a better chance with more quality teams and an influencer in those conference decision-making boardroom type of sessions. And I'm anxious to see how much flexing we can do when the proof is in the pudding on the floor. And none of the teams in our conferences are buys and walkovers anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm interested to see myself. I think with Commissioner McClellan being the head of the selection committee, well, he actually takes over the selection committee next year. He's the vice chairman. He takes it over after this season, but he is. I know in interviewing him, he talked about how when his teams come up, the SWAC comes up, they actually have to leave. He actually has to leave the room. But as you said, it's still a matter of respect and looking at what the SWAC has done and the MEAC. Looking at what the SWAC and the MEAC has done in out-of-conference play, I would hope that they take a full look at those teams when they're doing the season.
Well, and let's pump the brakes on that for a little bit about having to leave the room, because we all know the final votes in the room are just the beginning of the process. How effectively are you able to lobby and politic, buy lunches to the big-time coaches or the big-time athletic administrators who are making these decisions for the Power 5 conference? Because as we see, to your point, they are holding on as many of those 68 spots as possible for, 500 teams. And I'll just use Kentucky's bad this year. I don't care how much talent they have. They're a bad team. I can't see Kentucky right now above the 8 line barring a miracle. Okay. Now, I know you do have the reemergence of Arkansas and that neck of the woods. And I'm trying to think there was a couple of other teams, Alabama, that caught my eye in the SEC just to make it regional. But down years in the Big Ten and the ACC. The ACC ain't where it was. Those are going to be a couple of spots at the bottom of their leagues where you pencil them in for 5 bids. But those bottom-tier teams who got clipped earlier by a Central, by a Howard, are going to be worthy of 2 or 3 big conference. And if it doesn't play out like that this year, I think that's one of the crosses that we're going to have to bear on our side by finding out what the hell really is going on with our allegiance to an association that is clearly going to be uncomfortable with, let's be frank, the shine that black colleges are getting and the way that kids are perceiving the stuff away from the floor in terms of lifestyle, personal respect, and all the other intangibles that this new generation is incorporating when they make their decision as part of the college athletic experience. And, schools got to do a better job of taking care of them from a healthcare and a resources standpoint. But as it relates to competing for championships, and having the opportunity to at least get into the show is bigger than just, the play-in round. We need to have some teams on that 15, 13, up to 10 level right now at the very least. And I'm just talking about the men right side. I think, anything happen that would, let's say if Jackson State wins the women's side, I don't think that they should be worthy of that play-in game anymore. I think that there's a perception right now that somebody has to take the mantle, and who's going to be the person that, strikes up the band the way that Prime did for football, the way we do basketball, because the platform that the SWAC is going to get with Southern and Graham at the All-Star game, despite the fact it's in Salt Lake City, is huge. I covered Morgan and Howard at Cleveland last year in the All-Star game, and when DeMar Rosen says he wish he knew that it was going down for real like that, and at Black schools, it might have changed what he did as a former USC player when he was making his decision to go to school, speaks volumes about the word getting out. And I think the caliber of players really stepped up thanks to the portal and liberal transfer opportunities. It's changed the perception of the game for quality student athletes, not only on the football side, but the basketball side. They just hadn't been the person to put the shine on it with that big personality. And, we got to be mindful of that. That's one of the things that this show, my web shows, everybody can now start effectively, at least exposing the double standard. And we'll see where, ESPN and CBS go with their coverage of it, because we all know they're the power brokers in the college sports game right now.
Yeah, Mark, you got a second to hang on to the break?
Yep.
All right, let's do this, Flood. Let's take a break, then when we come back, we'll finish the conversation. All right, we'll be back for more of the Jaguar Journal.
Environment with an increase in employee productivity? Look no further than Go 225 Janitorial Services. We can provide a free quote for your commercial cleaning needs. Don't leave your commercial cleaning to just anyone. Your company's image is important to us. We're locally owned and operated and provide a quality, reliable cleaning service every time. Visit Go 225 Janitorial Services online at go225janserve.com or contact us at 225-360-5233.
first period. One. Other man, Marc Gray on Marc. What's up?
Just chilling, man. You know, trying to stay warm. I'm sure y'all freezing down there, too, at about 50 degrees. I'm freezing up here, and the wind chill is like 50 below. So I know y'all freezing, which y'all probably got like pots of coffee and hot chocolate in there. People shivering and stuff. Yeah, for extra heat. We love y'all, though.
But let me ask you this, Marc, because I couldn't go through the show without asking with North Carolina A&T naming their new head coach. What's your thoughts about that, with Sam Washington being pushed out and then them coming in naming a new head coach?
I'm still finding that as a head scratcher, but again, let me put it in SWAC terms for you. A&T is often run like Jackson State. You know what I mean? Unless you win in championships and you hoisting cups and all that kind of stuff, you on a perilous year-to-year contract. This is a man who went 7-4 in the Big South, was 2 plays away from going to the FCS playoffs, and it was a groundswell of anti-Sam Washington sentiment from what I gather from the people that I talked about him, which goes back to the way that he handled the health of Jermaine Martin, the talented running back who never really got a shot because his last 2 years he was banged up. So to me, it makes no sense. It's kind of like, you know, the way they felt about Broadway when he was there. And that's had a lot to do with the fact that, you know, he got out and went other directions at the point of his career. So I think A&T, and God bless them, they do have an inflated sense of where they should be, and they got to start realizing that this ain't the age. You can't just go out and start. When you get a coach that's as good as Sam Washington, you got to double down. I think they was caught up in the moment, figuring that they could get an ex-NFL player who would push the envelope and move the needles. But it's kind of like with Bethune and Ed Reed. You're not going to get the same shock value that you get at Bethune that you would get at Jackson, because Ed Reed is understated in what he does, despite the fact he got the same gold jacket that Prime does, I should say. But he does it in a different way. And I think that's what's going on with A&T right now. I think they figure you can get themselves an NFL name, a brand that will get people talking about it, and really that wasn't a shock value hire. I think that Earl Hilton had to make a move, the athletic director, because you still have a lot of people down there who are old school MEAC apologists who didn't like the fact that I'm going to keep it real with y'all here. Sorry to play the race game, but that a white athletic director chose to move one of the storied HBCU black college programs to a white conference. So he had to do something to save face. I think that was as much a part of the decision-making process as anything that affects, you know, X's and O's and the caliber of athlete that you're going to get. A&T's beautiful campus, great recruiting ground, the whole bit. They're going to get the kids that want to be Aggies, period, point blank. The question becomes, as I believe Vincent Brown, his name is, if he's gonna be able to, you know, do what Prime did, or if he comes through and he's like Tyrone Wheatley was at Morgan, and we saw how that worked out. So it's again, they got an inflated sense of ego down there in Greensboro. You know, nothing is ever as good as it should be, even when you're finishing on top. So I'm scratching my head a little bit. Hope it works out for him. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting move. It's in particular hiring Vincent Brown, and I agree with you. I don't think you playing. I think race is an issue in that with their athletic director, and I think that Vincent Brown. I think where Vincent Brown was coaching at beforehand had as big a part in his hire
as his actual experience. Because there's no way you hire Vincent Brown to replace Sam Washington if, in fact, I don't think even the NFL thing had anything to do with it. I think it had more so to do with him being the offensive coordinator at William & Mary.
Yeah,
I think in the athletic director's mind and in those around him, it was they think, well, we can get the best of both worlds. We can get a guy outside of the HBCU realm, and we can get somebody. We can get an African American who's coached outside of HBCUs, who's an NFL guy. We can bring him in and replace him. It's no way, in any way, shape, or form, that in real life you replace Sam Washington with Vincent Brown.
That's a great point, but I'll flip that and say that, a lot of high-profile former PWI assistants, such as at Howard, Larry Scott, Willie Simmons, they had their opportunities, despite being HBCU grads, to coach on, major college programs. Howard's coach was under Dan Mullen when he was at Florida. So, and they've turned it around. So maybe he's thinking about it, but trust and believe, the Aggie fan does not give a damn about where you came from, bro. And I'm telling you, you lived that covering Southern. You lived that covering. If you would put the madness of Southern into a pot of, let's call it dysfunctional gumbo, and you add some Jackson sauce, and you add some FAMU chicanery, and A&T fits right there. You got a bumbling cauldron of arrogance and ignorance, and my personal jury is still out on it. I would love to see A&T. Personally, I'd like to see him come back to the MEAC. I think that Earl's got to double down on making sure that it works. You got a lot of people that want them to come back to the MEAC, a lot of people who are writing checks. Unbeknownst to many, A&T alumni does a pretty damn good job of writing those four-figure checks, okay? I know a lot of people. I can think about 10 or 12 of my Aggie friends who have children that have graduated after them, who are all writing $1,000 checks to the athletic program each and every year, and they want something other. They don't like to travel, being away from their folks. And I got the move that they were making when they were trying to do Big South and into the CAA for travel reasons, but the passion for those games is waning, and unless you're winning and finishing on top, that just doesn't fly with the Aggie Nation. They're a different breed. And if you really want to talk to somebody about how the Aggies roll, ask Connell Maynard. He'll tell you for sure. And he's one of their favorite sons. Hendon Hooker's dad, Alan Hooker, is a legendary quarterback from down there. He kind of was like more of the Willie Totten of the MEAC when the conference first jumped off. So it's a different place down there, man. No doubt about it. And they got to turn it around. 7-4 ain't gonna get it. They want trophies and rings, and since moving beyond the MEAC, they haven't got too many of them in any of the key sports.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Mark. Do you think that the fan base themselves will want to move back into the MEAC, or are they okay with the direction that this?
No, they want to come back. I think, you talk to 10 A&T fans, I'd set the over-under at 6.5, who will want to come back to the MEAC. And I would probably go even higher with that over-under on fans of the conference. I consider myself one of them who would like to see them come back. I mean, they talk trash, but they bring a certain vibe that is and a great traveling fan base. And see, that's the thing that people don't talk about. You say what you want about A&T. Their fan base travels. They're very supportive. They're a little bit over the top in their expectations, I believe, sometimes. But what fan isn't? I mean, we all know fan is short for fanatic. And, you know, Aggie apologists are fanatical about that. But I can say, and I put some ducats down on this, that A&T fan, for the most part, would love to come back to the MEAC, especially since this new groundswell of, HBCU shine that they're missing out on by not having an association with the conference any longer. But then you got the other flip side who thinks that they can win a national championship and FCS. But by and large, the fan base, away from all that trivial stuff, from the Aggies that I know, will welcome an opportunity to get back to the MEAC if somebody came along and wanted to do it, if they can't go to FCS or FBS. And I think that's something you got to watch out for, because I think that that's really what Hilton is trying to do from his perch as the athletic director. And that would be a big feather in his cap if he could pull it off. But it could have, nightmarish consequences if it doesn't work out. So it's going to be a real interesting move to see how the football thing works out. And, again, they're replacing the coach that went 7-4, folks, in a conference that was a little bit tougher than the MEAC, especially with the defections. So that's the spot that's under the microscope for sure.
Man, it definitely is under the microscope, no doubt.
Hey, let's do this, Mark. Let's take a break and keep it rolling with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, let's get ready to take a break. We'll be back for more of the Jaguar Journal, all right?
All right.
Hey, it's Matt Moscono from our friends at Mold Zero USA.
All right. Back more to Jaguar Journal. Reggie Flood on here. Right, we got my man Marc Gray. Hey, fellas, what I want to do, I want to ask you guys a question about the NCAA this week. Came out, the NCAA Council votes to limit eligibility for second-time transfer to help try to curb the transfer portal usage. What's your guys' thoughts when you look at the NCAA coming in and stepping in to try to keep guys from jumping from school to school to school that we've seen over the past couple of years?
If you're asking me, I just think it's an attempt by the Power 5 schools to just, keep all the bids and all the high-end athletes in a place where they're free from thinking that they can make better decisions about their career choices down the line. So to me, it's a certain amount of manipulation, and I'm just wondering what the NABC and the National Football Coaches Association are doing as it relates to manipulating that circumstances. That's why I talk when you have a commissioner like McClellan in the room, how can he set up or create a better understanding for how to navigate through that? But if we were to simplify the verbiage, I think it's straight haterade, if you want to get right down to it. I mean,
haterade?
It's haterade, because you got major conferences feeling pressure because black kids now are seeing they can get meal money by going to HBCUs, and if it doesn't work out, they still had an option to either A, go up a level, or B, come back down. And you don't want coaches and athletic administrators don't want free, forward-thinking student-athletes. And no matter what you say about this generation, and I do have some problems with the arrogance and condescension of this generation because of the struggles of our generation to get them to this point, I do understand how the guys of and ladies of our generation were inhibited. And then you look at what happened with Gramblin's volleyball team last year, and I'm like, come on, y'all. So to me, it's haterade on the student athletes, and it's denying an unalienable right for freedom for any student athlete that any college student would have, because if it doesn't work at LSU and then it doesn't work at Tulane and then it does work at Southern, the kids still have the flexibility to do that as long as he's not bounded to a contract. And let's be real for a second. Everybody always looks at the 4 years that a kid is getting as a college scholarship, when in truth, those are a series of 4 one-year contracts that the school has the option to pick you up on, all right? And if the school decides, like we saw, to use Jackson as an example in that viral video when Prime was dismissing the receiver from the team, that's a lot more commonplace than you would think. And, I think that coaches at the power schools want to continue to have power. And, this was the way that they were able to do that so that they can go into grandmama's house or big mama's house or baby mama house and get those student athletes to come and play for them. I mean, that, y'all know, y'all been there in low time for a long time. Recruiting is shady. Period.
Definitely.
And it's just another tool in the shade that allows people to keep control and keep college student athletes, I'm not going to say as slaves, but I will say as indentured servants. And let's just leave it there.
Well, what you got?
I agree. I agree with Marc on that. I think it's just another way. They had to do something. I think it was becoming a desperate call to do something. The players had too much freedom, and I'm not surprised that this is the move that they made. I'll tell you the truth, Marc, to take it a step further. I think as black people, we have a problem with freedom.
Wow, that's an even bigger question, especially on a weekend like that. But you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I think we have a problem with freedom because some of the biggest people who were complaining about the portal and putting misinformation out there about the portal were African Americans. African American coaches, African American commentators, who putting out a lot of things about the portal that just weren't true. And I think sometimes we have a bigger problem with freedom than the powers that be. And that's a deeper conversation, you're right, but sometimes you don't have to put bars around the jailhouse.
True indeed, bro. Or barbed wire above the gates. And I just think that's one of those situations right now, man. Everybody's scared that student-athlete freedom is going to inhibit their lifestyle. And no matter what, color you are as a coach, you still want to make sure that you can pay your bills and live a quality of life. And you create protections for yourself. That's why I don't have a great deal of love, honor, and respect for AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association, or the NABC, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. They all one and the same, trying to protect their lifestyles at the expense of athletes who they control their lives for, and want to keep them under a certain amount of control. Because when you're making money, and I'll use Armando Bacot, the North Carolina center right now, who's making $500,000 a year as a student athlete. So despite the fact he was projected as a number one pick, he came back to school this year. Now, Carolina's struggling a little bit, but that's how people do it. Imagine what happens if you're an HBCU student athlete and you're making $500,000 a year, your name, image, and likeness. Heck, you're going to start taking 6 to 9 credits just so you can stay in school a little longer, so you can capitalize on that and be set for life even before you go into the draft.
Exactly.
So, a lot of people look at, and mostly coaches and athletic administrators look at that kneel empowerment, and that's what it is, as a curse to them and what they like. And you do have to deal with the egos and the parental sycophants and all that kind of stuff. But the moral to the story is, just like we've seen with free agency and pro sports, the system and the establishment has been in control for so long that people are now understanding it. But to your point, Reg, when you understand something and just see dollars and the dollars don't make no sense, then therein lies the impasse that you talk about. Because people see dollar signs and don't want to listen to anything else. And sometimes, what's the saying? All money ain't good money. And I think that's what we're dealing with right here.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the coaches associations, as opposed to, they only want to change the system when it applies to them. They don't actually want to change the system. They just want to find a better way to capitalize off an already corrupt system.
Exactly. But something that's vehemently one-sided, and that's even the case at HBCUs too. Okay, because what's the first thing a new coach comes in and does? Looks at the roster and says, "That bunch of y'all who shouldn't be around here anyway, you're fired." I mean, it's basically what it is. They're going like, at the end of 45's reality show back in the day, you're fired. And that's what goes on. And again, I hate to, beat a dead horse and sound like I'm a Grambling hater, but that's what happened to those young ladies with the volleyball thing. And again, if you didn't think you had Division I talent, that's one thing. But to not give those ladies an opportunity to fend for themselves earlier in the semester when you were going to pull their scholarship, reprehensible and heinous. And, I didn't really think that they caught enough grief for that, because that was egregious and insensitive. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm an adjunct professor, okay? And I know that you got an opportunity to impact kids' lives in our roles. And, you know, the great Joe Taylor, the all-time winningest coach in the MEAC, told me, he said, coaching done right is a ministry. He said, coaching done right is teaching. And in my role as a teacher, it becomes a ministry. And there ain't a whole lot of ministering going on in college sports these days, unless you consider the prosperity ministries of the John Calipari / Joel Osteen types who are cashing in on the religious fervor, if you will, the basketball program. Yeah, Dabo Sweeney. I mean, let's be real for a second. There's a whole bunch of them, and a lot of them are black. A lot of them got that, Creflo Dollar. God told my congregation to give me a plane. Fool, well, buy your own plane and fly on up out of here. I wouldn't have been putting no extra money into the car for him. I mean, and they got to be called out too, because you're dealing with 18 to 24-year-old impressionable people who are supposed to be the future of America, period, point blank. And they're going to end up having to take care of your kids before your kids are able to take care of themselves. If you don't make the proper investment in them right now, they're going to turn your back on the next generation. And quite frankly, that's the part of the mission statement that I think doesn't get adequately talked about, because an athlete is vulnerable to having his life ruined or her life ruined by the next coach that comes in when the previous coach moves up.
Yeah. P, we need to take a break.
Let's do that. Mark, you got a roll, Mark?
No, I got you. I can stay with you to the top of the hour.
All right, let's get ready to take a break and come on back. Mike, let's close this out.
Whether it's eye care, eye wear, or eye surgery, the Williamson Eye Center is ready to serve you and your family. You can schedule an appointment for a free LASIK.
All right, we're back. Jaguar Journal. Reggie Flood up here in white. Hey, Mark, before you get up out here, man, let people know where they can follow you at.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Sports Group. And I would encourage anybody, if you haven't, for entertainment purposes only, of course, checked out my podcast called The Sure Shot, where since everybody who's supposed to be so smart is and does that stuff for a living, and I'm still hitting it up with them, I got my pick six for this week's NFL playoffs posted right now on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And hope to be able to tell you about a streaming syndication deal for that in the not too distant future. And as we build towards the end of basketball season, HBCU Sports Nation is coming back. And, you might see me in Birmingham if a few things break out all right, because I think that and I, with all due respect to the wonderful people of Birmingham, that ain't necessarily the place I want to spend an entire week or a weekend. But with the way the tournament figures to play on both sides this year, don't be shocked if you see me down there. We're still cranking out. We got some games on hsrn.com today as well. So I'm all over the place in cyberspace, so hit me up. And I think you might learn something if you hang around long enough. You dig?
I did. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Well, Mark, man, I want to say thank you for coming on this morning as always, man. It's a pleasure, man, of getting your insight and your viewpoint on your perspective of the HBCU world.
Oh, yeah, and can we give big props to Coach Roger Cador and the work he's doing behind the scenes with that HBCU All-Star Showcase coming up at the All-Star Game this year in Seattle. And if you're down with coverage of Black American baseball, I'm working with Rob Parker from Fox Sports on MLB Major League Baseball, but MLB Bro.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
It's my man. You and my man David Grubb working on it.
Yes, indeed. Grubbs, I do. So, Louisiana boy, yes. So, check it out. And, that's kind of like the baby I had 2 years ago, and we entering in the 3-year and year number 3. And I think when we get towards baseball season, we will be leveling up for sure.
Good deal.
Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on this morning, man. We're going to get you back on here as we roll in 2023.
We'd love to do it, bro. Always a pleasure. Much love, fam. Y'all be safe.
Yes,
you
I
too,
appreciate it.
All right, no worries. Holla back.
All right. Love, before we get up out here today, man, what's your week looking like? It's MLK weekend.
Yeah, man, I'm going to try to get out and, have a positive impact on the community, for Dr. King, and hopefully the Jags get a couple of victories and, just do what we try to do, what we can do, man.
Yeah, I'm out in Atlanta this weekend with the Southern University Marching Band. They'll be participating at a HBCU Culture Battle of the Bands at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta on tomorrow. So, man, spending MLK in Atlanta this weekend.
Good deal.
Rolling on, man.
Good deal.
And today's game is going to be with HBCU Go, correct, Flood, with Southern and Grambling?
Yes, it's a 12 o'clock game. So the ladies tip off at 12 and the men at 3. So Southern and Grambling will both be on national TV. National broadcast on HBCU Go and the Griot Network. Whatever cable system you have, you can find the Griot and you can find Southern and Grambling basketball game on HBCU Go. So yeah, if you're not in the area, you can attend the game in person. You can watch it on TV. So be on the lookout for that. And I know that, like Perry said, the marching band is in Atlanta. Battle of the Bands, good luck with that. I hope they're able to do what they do. We know the band. They more than likely they're gonna bring the title back. So
There's going to be Alabama A&M, Stillman, Jackson State, Southern, and Talladega.
Okay.
That's how you know you're going to have Southern and Jackson State. Yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah, don't let Talladega sneak up on y'all.
Hopefully not, man. All right, Flood, man, it's been another good show, man. I want to thank Marc Grace for coming on today. Man, Flood, get us up out of here.
What up to man upstairs says the same. We'll be back at the same time in the same place because as always, it's the Jaguar Journal.